Hello, what's going on, folks? Welcome to Spin Driving School. And in today's video, we are going to talk about stopping distance behind vehicles at either red lights or stop signs. Same idea, it's irrelevant to when you are stopped behind a vehicle or where, but let's be honest, most common scenarios are going to be red lights and stop signs. So essentially, what you want to be looking for is the bottom of the wheels of the car in front of you. So you want to see the wheels touch the ground or the bottom of the bumper. However, be careful with the bottom of the bumper, as the bottom of the bumper will have different heights depending on, or will be at different heights rather, depending on the make and the size of the vehicle and the year of the vehicle, etc., etc. So bumpers are going to be at different heights, where the bottom of the wheels is always going to be in the same place from where you're sitting in the car, regardless of the size of the vehicle. Okay, now with bigger vehicles like trucks and such, give yourself more space, sure, especially if you're uphill, give yourself even more space so that nothing can roll back into you. But bottom of the wheels in general situations is what you will be expected to do on the road tests. It's, anywhere from, let's say, 8 to 10 feet, 4 or 5 meters, give or take. 5 to 6 feet I think is ample. This is very subjective depending on who you ask. There's not a lot of solid answers out there, and as always, a lot of these things are very subjective. It's you can say it's a matter of opinion, but you will be expected to have safe following and stopping distance on your road test. Thus, the stopping distance shall be ample. And you also need to consider two other things. The height of the driver, okay, so the taller you are or the higher you're sitting, if you're sitting in the higher vehicle or bigger vehicle or like in an SUV or a truck or something, you will have a vintage where you can see, let's say, further, and thus you can possibly be stopping a little bit closer, okay? If you're a shorter, smaller driver, if you're sitting lower in the vehicle, if you're sitting in the sports car, you might want to increase that stopping distance, or you're going to be able to see it differently than someone who is a taller person. And think of it also in terms of doing your road test, that your examiner, if they are shorter than you, you want to make them feel safe as well. So you may need to, adjust your stopping distance based on the height of your passenger, right? Even if it's not the examiner, whoever is sitting next to you, right? You want to make them feel safe as well. So don't stop too close to cars. Now, you don't want to stop too far away either, because you don't want someone to jump in front of you and, possibly take that space. So a full car length is maybe a little bit too excessive unless you're on the hill or behind a large vehicle. But in most terms, you want to be maybe about a half a car length or so, or maybe a quarter of the car length. But bottom of the wheels is usually what I tell my students. And there are essentially 3 reasons for that. One, I already mentioned. In terms of the road test, you want to make the examiner feel safe. It's just a good stopping distance. That way, if you get rear-ended from behind, you don't get pushed into the car in front of you. Okay, so that is, let's say, the main reason when it comes to safety, other than what you would be expected to do on the road test, have that ample stopping distance. And then, so that, let's say that's number 1. Number 2 is for safety reasons, and which both of them are for safety reasons, let's be real. And the third reason why is so that you can have an out in case of an emergency situation, or if you have to pull over for any emergency vehicles, for an ambulance or for a fire truck, or if you just need to switch lanes quickly, or if you need to just get out of a situation, if you're boxed in for whatever reason, as long as there's space to the left or to the right side, depending if there's a curb or if it's a 2-lane situation or a multi-lane situation. The reason why you want to have that distance, so that way you can get out of that. Let's say if you're in a bad spot, or again, if you need to move for an emergency vehicle, right? If you stop too close, you may not be able to move over. You may need to back up, or you might just get stuck. So, which has happened to me, and you do want to avoid that. So let's just get right into the videos at this point. Well, there you go. That's roughly, maybe 8 to 9 feet, maybe 6 to 7 feet. Okay, it's about 9 steps I have an 11.5-inch feet plus the shoes, so you can make that argument, right? So I'm just going, in this case, to the bumper, where to the bottom of the tires, you might have another foot or so. And this is what we're looking for, right? So we're looking for the bottom of the wheels, looking or touching the ground, or the bottom of the bumper. But if you look at the height of the bumpers in most of these videos, if you compare them with other cars, you will see that they're at different heights, right? So that's what a taller person would see, and then a shorter person is going to see a little bit lower. I also have, that video was taken essentially from my head height, or the picture rather, and then the video is from a camera that's a lot lower, right? So that's, again, what a shorter person, let's say, would see. So if you're taller, you can probably move a little bit closer, because that vantage point is going to be different for you than whoever's sitting next to you if they're a smaller person, right? So if you look at the arrows, that's what we're looking for, the bottom of the wheels of the car in front of you. Again, with larger vehicles, trailers, etc., you can give them a little bit more space. Also, another reason is for sitting back is you increasing your own visibility as well, right? So that's another reason why, again, you can put that into the safety category, right? If you're a good defensive driver, you always want to give other cars space, so that way you have as much visibility as possible. In this case, when you are behind a large truck, you can see less. Student drivers, right? It doesn't matter who you're behind. Bottom of the wheels, bottom of the bumper, both work. Full stop at the line, somewhat, and then proceed from there. Same thing when you roll up to a traffic light, when you're behind other cars. And I get this question a lot: if the cars ahead of you move up, can you move up as well? Of course, as long as you still keep your distance. You don't want to just shoot forward and make it seem like you're about to, go as if you will through the intersection. So you want to do this slowly when you are rolling up. Don't give yourself or the examiner or whoever's sitting next to you a heart attack. But yes, you can definitely roll up or creep up if the traffic up ahead of you moves up at a red light. Sure. Especially if you have a lot of distance to begin with. And again, if you pay attention to the cars in other lanes, you can see roughly how far behind they're stopping, right? So that distance will vary on the individual, how they see it, on the size of the car. So there's a lot of variables. This is why when people ask me these questions, these are great questions, but there isn't just one answer that's going to work every single time, unfortunately. Because driving is very variable and very situational, and it depends on all these different factors. But I can't stress the height of the driver much more than I have already stressed. So there we go, folks. That's it. That's all. I hope that this video was helpful, and stay safe, keep practicing. See you out there.